to another Fantazmo stream. Today we are continuing the work that we did like yesterday evening, I think. So this is stuff that we did last stream, and this is like cartoony setup, you know, stylized comic book like setup, and from there I want to transfer. I started today to work on more detailed stuff, you know, pulling away from typical comic book art and focusing toward more refined artwork, but still remaining in some type of stylized, you know, fantasy art. Okay, let's continue. So now I'm just rendering all stuff one by one. There is no fast way to do this. This will take time, but since this is my passion project, I'm really not focused on time. I just want to enjoy and make beautiful art, as beautiful as I can make. There is a large amount of difference in volume on this music that I put on, but okay. Yeah, I guess it's okay. Well, since stream is empty at the moment, and if I talk, I'll talk to myself. I'm gonna find some audiobook to listen to. 1 second. Let's hear something about Gnosticism. Why not?
Beginnings and endings are very strange things. In one sense, they're the very opposite of one another, and yet in another, they share a strange kind of identity. The limen of the home is simultaneously the entrance and the exit of the house, and it's no wonder that many cultures spend a great deal of magical attention on this very portal. And it's here that we find ourselves at the very limen of the year, at the very end of 2020 and at the beginning of 2021, entering the month of the two-headed god of Janus, the month of January. Of course, Janus was the Roman god of beginnings and endings, of gates, of the rising and falling tide of war, and of course of both the past and the present. And here we find ourselves, looking back into the past of 2020 and peering, though dimly, into the future of 2021. With this liminal attitude in mind, what better esoteric text to explore than the wonderfully paradoxical text Thunder, Perfect Mind? Found in the famous Nag Hammadi library containing one of our greatest treasure troves of Gnostic literature, Thunder is a text all unto itself. It defies literary, logical, gender, and theological categories and revels in vertigo-inducing paradox. So, to help me celebrate this liminal time of the year, I hope you'll join me as we explore this fascinating text. I'm Dr. Justin Sledge, and welcome to Esoterica, where we explore the arcane side of history, philosophy, and religion. As you may know, the Nag Hammadi library consists of 13 codices, or books, that were discovered in 1945 in Egypt. The books themselves were probably hidden sometime in the 4th century to preserve them, despite the fact that they were probably considered heterodox at the time. And generally speaking, they contain dozens of texts that scholars now reluctantly refer to as Gnostic in character. I'll be doing an upcoming episode on just why scholars are increasingly reluctant to use the term Gnostic to describe many of these texts, although at this point I'll be using Van der Broek's typology to better help us as a starting point for understanding this term. Of course, non-Gnostic texts were also recovered in the Nag Hammadi library, especially in Codex 6, and this would include sections from Hermetic philosophy, along with sections from Plato's Republic, and some other sections from an hitherto unknown spiritual philosophy. And it is in Codex 6 that we find the hymn poem, Thunder, Perfect Mind. The title, which is preserved in the Codex, is rather mysterious. Tvrante nous enteleos, Thunder, Perfect Mind. Although it's strange, the word thunder only appears in the title, and the word nous, or mind, while incredibly important in many other texts to be found in the Nag Hammadi library, only occurs a couple of times in the poem. So just how the title relates to the poem itself is again pretty mysterious. As I mentioned earlier, it's also in Codex 6 that we find the lion's share of non-Gnostic literature in the Nag Hammadi library, including fragments of Plato's Republic, some Hermetic documents, including a Hermetic Thanksgiving hymn, the authoritative teaching, which it's not clear exactly how that document relates to other so-called Gnostic literature. So it seems that even the compilers of the Nag Hammadi library didn't know quite what to do with Thunder. It seems to exist both inside and outside the library at the same time. So even in its day, Thunder was a liminal document. So what is Thunder, Perfect Mind? In the original manuscript, it's a roughly 8-page hymn poem spoken in the first-person feminine preserved in the Coptic language. As you probably know, Coptic is the final stage of the ancient Egyptian language, written in Greek characters, with several characters taken from the Demotic script to help with certain Egyptian sounds. The poem takes the form of an extended monologue, typically structured around statements like I am X and also I am not X, or I am the opposite of X. And despite its brevity and apparent simplicity, it is positively stunning what the poet is able to accomplish given this format. Thunder generally takes the form of an erotology, which are poems recounting the miraculous deeds or awesome power of the gods. We have various erotologies that have survived from the ancient world, including a very interesting one about the goddess Isis. A similar kind of genre can also be found in the ancient Near East as well. For instance, the personification of Sophia, or Chokmah, or wisdom, in the Hebrew Bible, specifically in the book of Proverbs and in the text of Ecclesiasticus. However, thunder uses a kind of paradoxical inversion to subvert the category of erotology itself. Here, not only is the divine feminine being awesome, just, and wise, but they are also debased, humiliated, and the subject of extreme violence. Indeed, violence is a major trope of Thunder Perfect Mind, with over 24 mentions, roughly half of which do not receive literary reversals. Further, it's the audience themselves that are often implicated in that very violence against the divine feminine of the poem. While the overall character of the poem appears in the feminine voice, Thunder goes to great lengths to invert and subvert the gender of the speaker. The poem seems to delight in combinations of anoch te, I am he, and anoch pe, I am she, in which gender expectations are met, reversed, and subverted continuously throughout the course of the poem. The composer of the text seems to be using paradox as a means by which to break free of the constraints of gender itself. Further, the poem uses a wide range of literary structures, including paradoxical parallelisms, logical inversions, and tongue-twisting phonetic combinations that are in fact only to be found in Coptic. This indicates that perhaps the text was originally written in that language, rather than being a translation from Greek, much like the rest of the literature to be found in the Nag Hammadi library. Further, there's good reason to believe the text was meant to be performed. It often addresses its hearers, or audience, as opposed to its readers. The idea is that we, the audience, are directly interpolated into the text. And so here we have the idea that this was actually meant to be sung or performed in some kind of way. So to what degree can we consider this text Gnostic? Well, one way of asking that question is if we were to find Thunder Perfect Mind in a non-Nag Hammadi context, would we have any reason to believe this text was connected to Gnosticism? And the answer, frankly, is not really. For instance, in Thunder Perfect Mind, we don't see the elaborate kind of origin myth, specifically the myth of evil, as it's worked out in either Valentinian or other kinds of Sethian texts like the Apocryphon of John. If you're interested in texts like that, I've actually already done a video on the Apocryphon of John, which goes into a great deal of this so-called Gnostic mythology. If you're interested in that, you can click the card above to check out that episode. Despite this, some early scholars thought that the speaker of the text might be the kind of mother deity Barbelo, or the Sophia characters to be found in the Sethian Gnostic mythology. However, given the very enigmatic character of Thunder Perfect Mind, it's very difficult to say conclusively that could be true. Perhaps a better guess might be that the enigmatic speaker of Thunder is in fact a kind of spiritual Eve, or we have some good reason to believe that at least ancient writers thought this was the case. We have some reason to believe that because there are two other texts in the Nag Hammadi library, both found in Codex II, which seem to reference or quote Thunder Perfect Mind. One of those is on the origin of the world, and the other is on the reality of the rulers, sometimes translated as on the hypostasis of the archons. Both of these texts seem to be quoting from Thunder Perfect Mind and putting those quotations into the mouth of Eve, or Chava, life, in the Gnostic version of the Garden of Eden story. Although it's possible that the text Thunder Perfect Mind was generated completely separately and simply interpolated into those texts, or that both Thunder and the quotations used in those two texts come from an earlier source. We just don't know. But at least in some sense we can say that the writers or the compilers of the Nag Hammadi library would have understood the speaker of Thunder Perfect Mind to be a kind of primordial Eve. Although, as I mentioned earlier, it's still not quite clear what relationship Thunder Perfect Mind has to do with the rest of the text to be found in the Nag Hammadi library. Despite these references in on the origins of the world and on the reality of the rulers, There's nothing in Thunder Perfect Mind to really indicate the kind of Gnostic soteriology or salvation story. Even terms like nous, mind, or gnosis, knowledge, the kind of salvific knowledge that we associate with Gnosticism, really aren't to be found in a very robust way in Thunder Perfect Mind. In fact, the speaker claims to have them and then instantly disclaims having them. So if it is the case that gnosis, or knowledge, is meant to be the salvific tool in Gnosticism, the speaker of the text will claim to be both mindful and mindless at the same time. So just how this paradoxical relationship of having these dual inverted traits is meant to relate to the so-called Gnostic soteriological story is far from clear. So while other texts tend to quote thunder, thunder seems to stand alone. And further, even concepts like monism and dualism, of course Gnosticism is typically associated with dualism, a kind of dislike or a disdain for physical reality. It seems that we don't even find those ideas to be found in thunder also. The paradoxical structure at work in the very logic of the text itself seems to destroy concepts like monism and dualism, inhabiting both and neither at the same time. And even the text at the end, which seems to speak of a kind of salvation, were actually added later as a kind of a Christian interpolation to remove the danger of the paradoxes here. There's something about the paradox which causes us to worry about the text, or it induces a kind of philosophical anxiety for us. And perhaps a Christian later came along later and resolved those paradoxes toward the end of the text, whereas I think the text itself simply reveled in that paradoxical reality. So the text itself seems to be free of many of the parameters or boundaries we would like to force it into, whether they be Gnostic, Hermetic, Christian, or Egyptian, or even the kind of middle Platonic or middle Stoic ideas that would have been common at the time of the composition of the text. None of these really capture the dynamism and strangeness of Thunder Perfect Mind. Of course, the author of the text remains a complete enigma, although I do think dating it to the 2nd or 3rd centuries of the Common Era seems reasonable, and it seems likely to me that the composer of the text is either a woman or a gender non-conforming person. Further, I think the text was not only originally written in Coptic, but I think that the person writing it may have had a very love-hate relationship, especially with the Greek side of the Greco-Egyptian culture of that time. One of the interesting things about the identity of the author is that they self-proclaim themselves to be a barbarian, perhaps an Egyptian barbarian, and the idea that a person would self-identify as a barbarian is simply unimaginable in the Greek world. Given this, along with the propensity of the text to describe a great deal of violence, one is left with a sense that there's a kind of post-colonial hybridity at work in the text, described by scholars like Homi Bhabha. Although again, the exact identity of the author remains mysterious to us. We simply don't know who composed Thunder Perfect Mind, and we likely never will. While thunder is exceptional in the Nag Hammadi library, typologically similar texts can be found even in other Christian literature. For instance, the hymn of Jesus found in the apocryphal Acts of John is remarkably similar to thunder. And further, and I think even more important, is a Mandean text to be found in the Genza Rabbah. Of course, the Mandeans are incredibly important in this conversation because they are the last surviving Gnostic remnant from antiquity. Further, there's even parallel literature to be found in this I am not structure, for instance, as far afield as Indic literature in the Upanishads, in the Atharva Veda, and also in the Gita itself. Perhaps the most shocking version of this kind of typology, at least in the history of Western esotericism, can be found in the Angel Diaries of Dr. John Dee and Edward Kelly. On May 23, 1587, Dee and Kelly, toward the very end of their career together, come in contact with an entity referring to itself as the Daughter of Fortitude, and that spirit or entity gives a speech remarkably similar to Thunder Perfect Mind. What's conspicuous about the speech given by the Daughter of Fortitude is not only its parallels to Thunder Perfect Mind, but also the intense sexual nature of the speech. Of course, this follows only a month after the infamous wife-swapping incident between Dee and Kelly. Just what to do with these typological parallels isn't clear, but one has to admit that they are, at times, a bit uncanny. Of course, thunder continues to make itself felt both academically and artistically, with it being set to music several times, it being referenced by Toni Morrison and Umberto Eco, it appearing in the film The Daughters of Dust, and perhaps oddly enough, in the long-form advertisement for Prada Perfume directed by Ridley Scott. The same guy that directed Gladiator and Alien has also put Thunder Perfect Mind to A Prada ad? Okay. I strongly suspect that after having been lost for nearly 1600 years, Thunder Perfect Mind is well on its way to becoming a new kind of classic. If you're interested in Gnosticism, Hermetic philosophy, or mysticism, make sure to subscribe here to the channel. These are all core content areas here at Esoterica. And further, if you'd like to support my work of making free, accessible, and scholarly content available on YouTube on topics in esotericism, please consider supporting my channel on Patreon or with a one-time donation. Your support makes Esoterica possible. Thank you. Of course, my brief introduction to Thunder Perfect Mind here is by no means a substitution for reading and deeply studying the text on your own, and I'll include several links in the description for various translations that you can access online. Also, I'll include the link to that weird Prada commercial where you can see it being performed, I guess, in the interest of selling perfume. So, hooray capitalism. No, just in case you're wondering, that was sarcasm. At any rate, the best and most complete study and translation of Thunder Perfect Mind available at this point is the 2010 edition by Taussig. This slim but expensive volume is really incredible. It covers thunder in a lot of different aspects, from poetry to historical context to Coptic grammar, and it produces a wonderful translation with the Coptic text facing, with an elaborate series of footnotes describing all the various nuances both in the Coptic original and why they translate the text the way that they do. This little volume, which again is unfortunately expensive, is still the best study in the best translation of Thunder Perfect Mind available. Perhaps you can get it via ILL, but this volume, which I hope comes out in a less expensive paperback version at some point, is, to my mind, the single best text if you're going to really deep dive and get a deep appreciation of Thunder Perfect Mind. Well, here's to living at the moment of paradox, somewhere between the dumpster fire that was 2020 and the possibilities of 2021. Until next time, I'm Dr. Justin Sledge, and you've been watching Esoterica, where we explore the arcane side of history, philosophy, and religion. Gnostic literature is, at least at first glance, rather puzzling. For instance, if one were to pick up a copy of the Nag Hammadi library, in either the Meyer or the Robinson edition, one would be confronted with hundreds of pages of literature, but no real idea where to begin studying it. Some titles seem vaguely familiar, like the Prayer of the Apostle Paul, or the various Gospels, like the Gospel of Thomas, Philip, or Mary, or perhaps even the Acts of Peter. While other texts appear downright strange, like the Discourse of the Ogdoad to the Ennead or the Trimorphic Protanoia. Yeah, Trimorphic Protanoia. Completely clear. And of course, that's not to mention that many of these texts are filled with long, complicated, and obscure mythologies, words that are incredibly unusual, long strings of vowels for some reason, and many texts are sadly mere fragments. It's honestly overwhelming, and it's very natural to ask, where in the world do I begin studying this vast corpus that we now call Gnostic literature? In this episode of Esoterica, I want to offer an answer to just that question. In my opinion, the best place to start studying Gnostic literature is a text called the Secret Book of John, or sometimes referred to as the Apocryphon of John. Now, while the Apocryphon of John is, at least in my opinion, one of the best places to start studying Gnostic literature, that doesn't at all indicate that it's going to be a walk in the park. However, I think by studying the Apocryphon of John rather closely, one does get some appreciation of what we might call Gnostic mythology and the overall tenor of the kind of literature that one might encounter in something like the Nag Hammadi library or the Bruce Codex. Further, I think by studying the Apocryphon of John, one does get some sense of the overall tenor of what we might call Gnostic Christianity, although again, I have to say that with some degree of caveats. Also, I think what's interesting about the Apocryphon of John is that it disrupts some of the stereotypes often grouped with the idea of Gnosticism. So I hope you'll join me as we explore the secret book of John, or the Apocryphon of John, a foundational text of what scholars now refer to as Gnosticism. I'm Dr. Justin Sledge, and welcome to Esoterica, where we explore the arcane side of history, philosophy, and religion. As you may know, Gnosticism is a bit of a fraught category in the academic study of religion these days. While it's popularly held that there existed an ancient religion called Gnosticism, of which there were Jewish, Christian, and even later Islamic variants, that very category, Gnosticism, has come under sustained academic attack in the past several years. So much so that there's a very strong scholarly current which rejects the existence of a historical religion called Gnosticism and basically claims that there were no such thing as Gnostics. They were simply Christians that had a very specific way of doing Christianity that we now, as scholars, call Gnostic, but they themselves, in fact, never refer to themselves as such. Now, I think this is an incredibly important debate, and understanding just what we refer to when we call something Gnostic is an incredibly important part of academic scholarship on the history of religions, and I'm going to cover that debate in a future episode. With that debate in mind, I just want to say that I'm going to be using the term Gnosticism and Gnostic quite provisionally through the course of our exploration of the Apocryphon of John, and typically when I'm using those words, I'm using them somewhat under the rubric developed by Vanderbroek, which is currently on the screen. I'll talk about his book toward the end of the episode and why I think his introduction to Gnosticism is one of the best out there, so stay tuned to the end to learn more about that. With that caveat in place, we can ask the question, what is the Apocryphon, or the secret book of John? Well, simply put, it's a kind of gospel. That is to say, a text providing good news about the salvation of human beings. While the typical Gospels of the New Testament take the form of biographies of the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus, the Apocryphon of John is rather different. In fact, it acts as a kind of continuation of the Gospel of John found in the New Testament. Here, in what appears to be the period after the resurrection of Jesus, John the Apostle is being taunted by a Pharisee about the very teachings of Jesus. Distraught, John actually retreats into the desert, and it's there that the sky is torn asunder and the resurrected Jesus provides John a secret teaching. That secret teaching, or apocryphon, revealed to John by the resurrected divine Jesus, is the subject of the text we'll be exploring today. But before turning to the contents of the Apocryphon of John, let's talk about the text itself. It actually survives in a whopping 4 Coptic manuscripts that date from roughly the 3rd to the 5th centuries. As you may know, Coptic is the final form of the ancient Egyptian language, originally written in hieroglyphics, but eventually translated into various other scripts, including hieratic and demotic, and eventually being written in the Greek script. So basically, Coptic is the Egyptian language being written in the Greek script, with a couple of extra letters thrown in from the demotic alphabet. Now, I know that 4 manuscripts doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider that virtually no intact canonical gospel manuscripts survive from this same period, along with very few copies of the Iliad and Odyssey, one is confronted with the reality that it is positively shocking that 4 independent copies of the Apocryphon of John survive from late classical antiquity. Further, it seems like the text was originally written in Greek and then translated multiple times into Coptic. We have slight dialectical differences in the translations that have survived into Coptic. Now, the fact that the text has been translated from Greek into Coptic several times tells us that there was some demand for people to read this text in their indigenous language, the language of Egypt, which tells us that the text was quite popular. The text itself survives in 2 different recensions, a longer and shorter version. The longer version includes a long list of demons that are responsible for the construction of the primordial atom, taken from an alleged book of Zoroaster, along with a hymn of providence or pronoia, which I'll talk about later, appended to the very end of the text. It's also worth noting that the various versions of the Apocryphon of John don't always exactly agree. For instance, in the Berlin Codex, which was discovered in the 19th century, there's an important note that the distinction between men and women, specifically the subordination of women to men, was actually instituted by the hideous pseudo-god Yaldabaoth. And so in that version, we have a very interesting idea that patriarchy itself is an unjust form of social relation instituted by a false god. A not minor point if you're, a woman. So if you want to study the Apocryphon of John very closely, you'll want to do a kind of comparative analysis of the various versions that survive. I'll talk about those different versions toward the end and where you can study them each independently or together synoptically if you choose. So let's turn to the question of how to date the Apocryphon of John, which is challenging. The shorter recension of the Apocryphon of John is typically thought by scholars to be the earlier version, and there are even a current among scholarship to take that the framing device using the Apostle John is in fact later accretion onto an earlier, perhaps even pre-Christian Gnostic text. So the core of the text is perhaps the earliest section, and then there is a kind of Christian bookend put on at the beginning and the end, although there's a lot of debate about just the degree to which that's true. The earliest discussion of what we take to be the contents of the text can be found on the detection and the overthrow of so-called knowledge, or gnosis. This text is typically referred to in the Latin as Adversus Haereris, and it was written by the Proto-Orthodox bishop Irenaeus sometime around 180 of the Common Era. Now this all points to a very important factor in thinking about the popularity of the Apocryphon of John: location. What's really fascinating about the fact that the 4 Coptic manuscripts that survive were likely produced in Egypt, what's interesting is that we have Irenaeus writing his book against the Apocryphon of John all the way over in Gaul, what is now France. The fact that 4 different manuscripts have survived and the fact that Irenaeus attacks the text with such vigor tells us, given the geographic range of the text being found in France all the way to Egypt, and the fact that he feels the need to attack it with such vigor tells us that this text was in fact rather popular. So while the Apocryphon of John was not authoritative through the entire rise and development of Christianity through the ages, there's no doubt that at least in this very early period that the text was
The Red Book, Liber Novus, C.J. Jung. Author's note: the years of which I have spoken to you when I pursued the inner images were the most important time of my life. Everything else is to be derived from this. It began at that time, and the later details hardly matter anymore. My entire life consisted in elaborating what had burst forth from the unconscious and flooded me like an enigmatic stream and threatened to break me. That was the stuff and material for more than only one life. Everything later was merely the outer classification, the scientific elaboration, and the integration into life. But the numinous beginning, which contained everything, was then. C.G. Jung, 1957. Liber Primus, The Way of What Is to Come. Isaias dixit, quis credidit auditui nostro et brachium Domini qui revelatum est? Et ascendet sicut virgultum coram eo et sicut radix de terra sitienti, non est species e neque decor et vidimus eum et non erat aspectus et desideravimus eum, despectum et novissimum, virorum, virum dolorum et scientem infirmitatem et quasi absconditus vultus eius et despectus unde ne creputavimus eum, vere languores nostros ipse tulit et dolores nostros ipse portavit et nos putavimus eum, quasi leprosum et percussum ad eo et humiliatum. Parvulus enimnatus est nobis filius, datus est nobis et factus est principatus super humerum eius et vocabitur nomen eius ad, and we esteemed him not, as it were. There is no beauty that we should desire nor comeliness. The arm of the Lord revealed, said Deus fortis pater futuris, our report. And to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He hath no form nor comeliness. And when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. Isaiah 53, 1-4. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Isaiah 9:6. Ioannes dixit, et verbum caro factum est et habitavit in nobis, et vidimus gloriam eius gloriam quasi unigeniti a Patre plenum gratiae et veritatis. John said, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John 1:14. Isaias dixit, laet abitur deserta, et in via, et exultabit solitudo, et florebit quasi lilium. Germinans germinabit et exultabit, laet abunda et laudans. Tunc aperientur oculi caecorum, et aures sordorum patebunt. Tunc saliet sicut servus claudus aperta erit lingua mutorum, qui ascisse sunt in deserto aquae et torrentes in solitudine, et quae erat arida in stagnum et sitiens in fontes aquarum. In cubilibus in quibus prius dracones habitabant orietur viror calami et iunci, et erit ibi semita et via sancta vocabitur, non transibit peream pollutus et haec erit vobis directa via ita ut stulti non errent peream. Isaiah said, the wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad for them, and the desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice even with joy and singing. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped. Then shall the lame man leap as a hart, and the tongue of the dumb sing. For in the wilderness shall waters break out.
Hello? Hey, Hanzo. No, it's not Bible. It's since nobody was on stream, I was just listening to Carl Jung Red Book. I'm not accustomed to his work, but some people say this was one of his most obscure book, you know. So I'm just listening to an audiobook, but I will stop now because nobody was on stream, so you know. I was just indulging myself until somebody come. How are you, my friend? Interesting. I'm very good, man. Thanks for asking. Hey, man. No problem. You're welcome. So I actually switched on. Finally, chose like a sketch that I want to work on, and now I'm at the point of rendering this one fully, you know. Finally we have Jerok the Hunter. All we need to do is to finish this concept. Not concept, this is more of an illustration. We are way past the concept phase. Now we are strictly doing like illustration. I'm gonna need this one for as an asset for something that I plan to do with it. My friend, the song is so loud it blows my heads off. So, oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that. I hope that now it's better. Yeah, it was on maximum because nobody was on stream, so yeah. Sorry I wasn't available. The illustration looks amazing, bro. Thank you, my friend. Hey, no worries. You come when you come, when you have time. Hello, Matilda, my friend. How are you? I saw your picture with the pussycat. With that sweet pussycat. okay-ish. Why do you have ish at the end? Something happened? My lungs are full of dust. What the fuck? Why is that, man? I'm sorry to hear that. What seems to be the problem? I had to clear the attic, yeah. Not literally full of dust, yeah. Oh, the attic. Did you find something interesting in the attic? Like something that you used when you were like a little boy? Some old toy or an instrument or something? I found Dennis wank. I just visualized that creepy observation, yeah. He was like, Felipe, come and join me. Let's do this together. It will be more fun and fruitful. Well, good for him. Dennis is a good friend, man. He really is. Well-mannered and a good boy. A good boy, good boy, good boy. I was practicing gesture. Oh, nice. Oh, too bad you're not on Discord, so you can share it with us. So, are you satisfied with how it went? Did you manage to learn something from the process? That's like only important at the end, you know? More confident and better proportions. Nice, nice, nice. Good, good. Yeah, I was like looking some sketches, you know, or gestures and some other stuff on the internet, and I was like, what the fuck, this is so gorgeous. Some people actually do such a beautiful sketches for different body positions, you know. It's just pure enjoyment to watch them. I really love watching speed paints. Yeah, they are really fun. Not just fun, but also. But how do you watch it? Do you watch like speeded up time or? You should see my stickman from 5th grade. Yeah, man. Do you have it? Did you find it in the attic next to Dennis masturbating? Oh, 1 sec. I need to fix something here. Mark Burnett has a playlist with his speed paints. He's such a good art. Yo, he's that's like the upper echelon of artists, you know. He is definitely an upper echelon. Everything he do is beautiful. Also, I always admire the people that actually have nerve and time to set up like a studio for recording, sound, background, everything visually. Adam Duff also has beautiful setup and lighting and everything on his videos. It's visually pure enjoyment just to watch and listen to him, you know. I don't know if you watched like something. It's more like art talks. He's more focused toward art talks actually, you know. Spreading the word and some advices for struggling artists and kind of like that. If you didn't watch him, so sometimes just when you draw, you can put it on, just listen to him. Here, let me type here, Adam Duff slash Adam Lucid Pixel, I think is his channel. Here. But I think that Pixel it's like with U letter, Pixel. I may be wrong. He has beautiful art talks. He's an art teacher also. He's giving private courses. He's living in Canada. He gives private courses to beginner and also professional artists also. His own personal work is also interesting. He's actually heavily inspired by game art, biovisual art like Elden Ring, you know, and Dark Souls. All his stuff actually reminds me on that. Though I'm not... That's not my cup of tea, but however, his art looks really, really cool. Thanks for them. Hey, no worries, man. No worries. Also, I suggest one more guy, and the last guy is actually... 1 second. This guy actually worked for Blizzard a bunch of times for different projects. His name is Trent Kanyuga, I think, if I didn't butcher it, how to spell it, not spell it, but to pronounce it. Trent Kanyuga, Kanyuga, I don't know. So he's also beautifully unique artist. His art is leans more towards my taste, and he also has like a bunch of art talks and advices for artists, and I really enjoy every time I watch his channel. But in the last 2 to 3 years, I didn't watch anything. You know, like I don't focus so much of consuming YouTube anymore. Only as a background when I draw something. I tend to listen to like historical videos, something. I just enjoy that, or some theological or philosophic themes. Any good female artist? The Joe's not cook. Bunch of them, I guess. Just that I didn't follow. You know. I don't know about content creators, but there are a bunch of artists on ArtStation. But as a content creator, I really didn't follow any. You keep recommending dudes, yeah, man. When I play video games, I always play dude character. Rust is exception because I can't choose my character there. No joking. Maybe it is. Who knows? Maybe I'm misogynist. Well, a person that actually taught me how to draw in my beginnings and actually made me think as an artist and as a visual person was my aunt, you know. So she was uh, she was a teacher of visual arts in maybe elementary school, I don't know, and she was so full of inspiration, you know, as a teacher. It She just transferred that way of living the art, how to say. Each time she teach me, I just came back home, you know, inspired, wanted to draw more and more and more. I used to do the same, but now I only pay female because if you think about it, it's kind of weird. You get to look at dudes all the time in games. This way, I'm looking at chicks now. Yeah, that's what my friend says. You know, he was playing Skyrim. You know, like 100% of the game, he actually did everything as a female character. I don't know. I can't seem to. Maybe it's me, or maybe it's my uh, how to say. Maybe it's my uh, distortion in my mind or something. But I just can't play female characters. I can't relate interactively with them. I can watch the movies when they're like protagonists or something, but I can't relate to with them as a playable character. You know, I'm a male. I can't think like a woman. I can listen to a woman, but I can't interact with the world as a woman. And if I want to view chick bosoms when I play video game, I mean, I wouldn't play video game. I would just watch some sexy video or something, you know. But hey, to each his own. To each his own, my friend. To each his own. Female artist I know is Luis Emiliana. Okay, let's see if she's a content creator or generally an artist. Luis Emiliana. Let me just type it. Emiliana. Whoa, whoa, her art is beautiful, man. See, I only do male characters, she only do female characters, and we're all good. Oh my god, this actually looks awesome. Here, let me... This is a screenshot. Okay, let me just rewind towards the end. Whoa, she really does insane job, man. Let me paste it here. Look at this. This is fucking beautiful, man. Look at this guy. That's just next level, man. Whoa. And it's also stylized, yet leans toward realism. Look at the lips. I love the artists that can do this like 3 to 5 strokes and define entire mouth with it, you know. You see? Oh, I just typed in her name, and this is what popped up. Whoa. No. But yeah, there's some female artists. The other one I forgot. I guess there is like a bunch of them that are good. It's just I never done like a deeper research. Yeah, I remember the days that I was like constantly every day looking on ArtStation, you know, looking what other people do, and at some point I just got bored of looking at it, you know. Instead, I just want to make some art and that's it. But hey, whenever I struggle with something, like really struggle, I tend to see how other artists solve that problem. So yeah. You steal from others' work, of course. If by any chance I would be a smartest person in the world, it's not stealing, it's actually learning. Stealing is like taking somebody else's entire artwork and Steal it. I saw you copy paste that. Cannon spear. Don't lie to me. Yes. No, I didn't actually copy paste. What the fuck are you talking about? I did copy it here on this artwork next to my hand in order to have it as a reference. It's completely different. Although, if somebody actually struggles that much, man, just put that hand and paint over it, you know. And once you do it like 5, 6, 7, 8 times, you will be able to actually reproduce that hand by yourself. So if something actually has a potential to teach you something, if something has a potential to make you a better artist, go ahead, man. Doesn't matter, you know. If you want to try to repaint like other people's stuff, that's like the way you want to go. I doubt it's gonna make you a better artist, but it's gonna make you a better technician. But how to be a good artist? That's just long life pursue, I think. Of course, man. You've been trolling me since you came here, Felipe. It's time to suffer the consequences. Are you ready to suffer the consequences? I think I will not stream for so long. Because I want to lay down earlier today and I want to play some video games this evening. Because I didn't play video games for like, I don't know, bunch of days. I just played like one Aram, how to say? I love you. You meat love me. You meat love me. I love you too, Felipe. I love you so much. Never have I ever loved one Romanian as I love you. See? Love is in the air. Everywhere I look around. Love is in the air, in every sight and every sound. Smelly cat, what are they feeding you? Smelly cat, smelly cat. It's not your fault. Ah, stop it. I can hear Daniela's getting jealous in the back. Yeah, no, she is in the other room doing her own job. I mean, I guess she's doing that. I hope she's doing that. If you know what I mean. Do you know why? I'll tell you why. My hands are bananas. Your hands are bananas. Beware of the milky pirate. I'm so happy that I entered finally the phase in my life that I could actually manage to get time to do my own art. That's like, what can artists actually ask for? Stop it, Ron Beasley, stop it. Something is wrong. Okay, okay, okay. Mr. Banana. Okay. Okay, okay, okay. Much better, much better. I'll finish this illustration by, I don't know, 2027. But I love to, like, waste time on details. It just, this like doing this thing, it's actually some kind of therapy for me. Like zoom in like an idiot and paint it. One should not paint this close. This is actually like the closest you should get, but who cares, man? I just enjoy it. That's why I love to do my own art when I have time. It feels pretty awesome. You want to do Batman with a pancake and you can do it. Batman with a pancake, that sounds something like I would like to do. Batman with a pancake. Wouldn't that be a great illustration, man? Should I put maple syrup or not? I'll be right back. I need to smoke one cigarette. I need to poison myself. I could get more thin. I like to look at Kim Jong-ji draw. Oh, Kim Jong-ji is that guy that does not do sketches. He's just straightforward, doing like polished line art or something. Let me see. I think he's that guy. Yeah, this guy's an alien. I don't know if you've seen his work process, Hanzo, that guy that Matilda just linked his name. His entire workflow is insane. I don't know how can he hold so much stuff in his head before he actually explodes on a paint, I mean graphic, whatever, without actually doing a sketch before, you know? Yeah, you definitely know who he is. Those are like 1 in a million. And also Japanese, they are just insane at everything they do. They just raise it to another new level. By the time entire Western culture went for 3D, they stick with 2D animes, and they did miracle in 2D. They actually brought back 2D to 2D animation in mainstream. Well, that's just bad. But let's see Wikipedia. He died aged 47. Yeah, man. That's like 6 years older than me, man. See you soon, King. Just joking. I mean, you can never tell. You can never tell. Therefore, in order to speed that way, I'm gonna go and smoke a cigar. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Where did I put my liquid? 1 second. Here I am. Oh, fuck. Okay. Where was I? I hear about the Kim, yeah. Well, I don't know. I tend to get more and more relaxed around death, you know, because I had like some dreadful personal experiences with close friends and members of the family and death, you know. And also from pure atheism I went into a faith and it changed me. So did it change my position on and view on death itself, so that's why I'm now. I think about it like a lot, but not from perspective of scared man, you know. I'm not gonna do this. No, I was an atheist. No, I'm not. I'm not an atheist. Nor am I agnostic, nor agnostic. I'm a full-on believer. Actually, I'm always stunned by the knowledge that there are like plenty of artists that are atheists, and that's so confusing to me, you know. How can you be an artist and an atheist at the same time? That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know, because if you're an atheist, if you how to say this, and I really don't want to insult anybody, that's not my that's not why I'm saying all this, but you worship material world as an atheist. Either if you say you don't, it doesn't matter, you actually do, because you live by the philosophy of materialism. And if someone's lived by the philosophy of materialism, he does not believe that he has soul. If he does not believe he has soul, he does not believe in sin. If he does not believe in sin, what he believes in then? Well, I don't know. At least it makes sense to me. But still, as an artist, to be a atheist, that's just weird for me, you know. Not weird, but contraindicative. Because since the dawn of time, people actually expressed as an artist towards divinity, you know, towards beauty, towards order. It is incompatible. Yeah. You said it well, you know. I remember when I was in my atheist age days, how to say, I had like a neighbor that I really love. He's really. Can I know why you were an atheist? Well, from this point of view, I thought I was an atheist. I think youth actually makes you feel immortal. Therefore, uh, you do not live around thought of death and thought of purpose of life that much. I don't know. I think I was was not an atheist, but I thought that I was. I don't know how to say that. Because when I see some of my early work from music and visual arts about what they were actually talking or illustrating, you know, I think subconsciously I actually yearned for for faith, but I just didn't know that. And I come from type of family that doesn't actually indoctrinate you in any way. They are believers, but they never tried to, how to say, they imprint that on me. They just left me to find my own way to the faith, I guess. Um, people tend to think that like they never try to heavily influence you into their own beliefs. Yeah, definitely. They did answer a question when I asked them, but never on their own will did they try to do anything about that. And that's what I respect, because best way to come to become a believer is actually by your own life experiences, without any forced indoctrination or something. I mean, I respected all the customs because of folklore, and it's like the way my father did it, his father and father of his father did it. That's like really important to me. By the way, I don't want to bother you while you're doing your truth. If I wanted to do my illustration, I wouldn't stream. This is just something that this is like therapy for me. Talking to good people and draw. I don't care when I'm gonna finish this. This is actually only like this entire painting stuff. It's only like a background from my streams. It is not a background when the stream is empty, but when it's not, I always tend to prioritize people instead of art. So don't apologize for that. Don't do not ever think that you bother me. Hanzo is way too nice, man. I've been trolling you each stream, and he apologizes for asking conventional questions. Yeah, actually, good point of view, Matilda. Boom, 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 boom. What was I saying? I forgot. I guess nothing important, since I can't remember. Yeah. So back in my 80s days, I have a neighbor who, dude, I love that helmet, how that helmet front view looks. Yeah, I was thinking about that this guy is actually blind, but he actually uses this this other being, stuff, whatever this is, as his eyes. We'll see about that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure still. I didn't work out lore that much and that deep, so. But yeah, it kind of looks cool because he actually releases when he hunts. He first releases his scout to scout the hunting ground for him, to scout where is the good place to ambush the animal and blah 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 blah. Therefore, he may be more prepared. Or for example, when he's honing his weapons, he's I need to name this guy over here, you know. He actually sends his eyes. Yeah, those are just the eyes. We'll call them the eyes. Actually, it's good, the eyes. He sends the eyes forward to scout the entire hunting ground for him before he actually starts to find the game. When I say game, I mean like hunt, not the game like video game. Yeah, about that story with my neighbor. So I have a neighbor here in my building that I really like. He's actually he's a nuclear physician, and swastika, 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 swastika. Okay. Actually, swastika on Serbian means like not swastika, the Nazi symbol, but it's some. I can't remember on which side, like sister of your mother's brother, sister, brother, whatever. I don't know, something. Swastika is a female, somebody from your family that is related to somebody of somebody you know, or somebody you are related to, or I don't know. I forgot. I always forget what swastika is in Serbian. So where was it? Yeah, and my neighbor. Yeah, Chernobyl neighbor of yours. Actually, yeah. Now I have two stories. You reminded me one. Okay, let's go to that Chernobyl part. So he actually works here in the institute, nuclear institute here in near Belgrade, in Serbia, and he's constantly exposed to a minimum dose of radiation, you know. So his wife trolled him every time that they go to sleep. She turned off the light, and he's like glowing in the dark. You know? Anyway, let's get back to the first story. So back in my atheist age, I was asking him because I knew even back then that he was really religious. Uh, I asked him, "How come you are like nuclear physician and you're a religious at the same time? You know, this is like it just doesn't go one with the other." And he looked at me and said, "Dude, it's like 90% of what's the word from the scientists that actually do physics? It's not physician. It's doesn't matter." He said 90% of us are actually believers, you know, men of faith, you know. And I was quite stunned when he said that back then because I never thought about it, you know. But now when I think about it, Isaac Newton was a believer. I think that Einstein was a believer too. Nikola Tesla was definitely a man of faith. So the world of believers actually produced like pure geniuses, you know. That's stunning. So when they do nuclear calculation and all of that at the end, they pray it's all good. Well, he goes to the church. We, the Orthodox, are not going to the church on Sunday. We're on Saturday. We're going on Sunday. So he goes to the church every Sunday, 9 a.m. with his entire family. He celebrates every Orthodox. What's the word? Oh, praznik, jeba mater. Can't remember. Holiday, yeah. Every Orthodox holiday. I mean, if you're a scientist, you don't have any proof that actually said to you that there is no intelligent design behind it, all of nature and all of world, you know. You just guess, and it always will be, because divinity is unreachable through conventional means. When I say conventional, I think more like modern means. Back a few centuries ago, science was not that much separated from religious worldview. It's actually, we live in a modern time when like only like from 19th century, that's like the point of view, you know, that comes with the German academics. Fucking Germans. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just fooling around, and we'll see how it's gonna look at the end. We use Praznik. Yeah, Praznik, yeah. See? I told you. You Romanians are actually Slavic people. It's just that Romans genocided your ancestors, you know. And once they didn't, they just Romans actually just Romanized them, Latinized them. How to say it? That's really sad, man. Šta radiš, brate? Yeah. Šta radiš, brate? Šta radiš, brate, šta radiš, šta radiš? Kako si te? Ali si te? Kako si te? S-T-E. Sorry, but I'm lost now. Yeah, don't pay attention, man. I was just talking about Felipe's distant ancestors. So Felipe is a Romanian, and I'm Serbian. We live, our countries live actually next to each other. And back in like really long time ago, our ancestors were actually same people, doing same stuff, having the same culture, you know, and Romans, which actually gave name Romania to his country. Before it was Vlachia, Dacia, I don't know. It changed. It had different names. It was not only one country. It was one people in different countries. How to say? We're neighbors. We live 2 to 3 hours away from each other, but he doesn't want to see me in real life. Dude, what the fuck? Where was I? Yeah, actually Romans. I'm talking about pagan times. I think Romans actually Latinize entire geographical part of today's Romania, and almost cleanse entirely their population, and which they didn't cleanse. They actually indoctrinated into new kind of society, how to say, Romanized, Latinized society, while Serbia stayed more leaned towards Byzantine worldview, how to say, although they never Latin Romans never managed to actually disconnect Romanian peoples from orthodoxy, you know, because they were Catholics. Isn't that magnificent? You can kill our language, you can do anything you want, but you cannot kill our faith at the end, you know. So You actually have a country in Europe that is named Romania, and it's Orthodox. That by itself is pure, how to say that, positive anomaly. How to say? I don't know how to name that. You know. Where were you? Where are you from? I forgot, Hanzo. Is it like Latin America? No? Peru? No? Puerto Rico? Something? I forgot. Sorry, man. I'm just old. I can't keep everything in my head, you know? Whoa, this stuff is actually becoming really, really cool. You're Catholic? Really? No fucking way. I thought you were... Isn't like Romania an Orthodox country? I mean, there are always Catholics, of course, but... A Romano Catholic, yeah. Roman Catholic Church. I thought you were an Orthodox, man. I didn't know that. I have delay, so I think I missed some things that you say. No, nothing, just a history talk, man. We just discovered that actually far ancestors of Philip actually killed Romanians. Did you well play? So how does it feel to be a... What's the opposite of the ancestor? Like the new generation? I am really bad at history class. Yeah, me too, man. I started to take an interest for history in my old age, man. History is fascinating. There is nothing fascinating like history, man. Nothing in this world. Because people tend to call it science. It's not science. History can't be science, you know, because you relate on sources that are not 100% true. Anyway, Hanzo, you are from Peru, yeah? Or Puerto Rico? I can't remember. If you want to, we can together learn something about your country. GG, well played. Philip, you crazy man. Puerto Rican, yeah. Okay, let's go to Puerto Rico. Myths, legends, and superstitions of Puerto Rico. Some of Puerto Rico's folklore is funny, some very sad, but all the tales are beautiful. A couple of wonderful collections to read are Cuentos, an anthology of short stories from Puerto Rico by Carl Wageheim. Of course, there is always some German writing everything about the world. You know, we in today's modern age actually learn German history, not objective history. Just so you know, where we were, where was I? Creation. Atape was the original Earth Mother. So you have multicentric cult. Back in the old world, like very old cults and old beliefs. I'm talking about 500-600 years ago. long way before Christianity. I'll pause to read this message from Matilda. My father came from close to Moldavia, yeah, and my grandparents from my mom's side, my grandma came from North Romania, I believe, and my grandpa was half Nazi. See, I mean, I saw your pictures, man. You must be some kind of Aryan dude, half Magyar. So I don't know about my ancestors. Yeah, well, you can choose either to trace it from the mother's side or from the father's side. So, yeah, no. Well, as we were, yeah, about. Sorry, I just my brain doesn't work. Yeah, so about the old gods. So the old world, like really old world, didn't have patriarch gods, how to say, patre means father. That was brought on later on in cultures and traditions. First cults were actually matricentric cults. It's like so matri means matre, which means mother. It evolved around motherly figure, the it how to say that the cults were focused on what's the word? I can't say. Is that from Wikipedia? No. I just generally talk to you about matricentric cults. You had all the Native Americans for Puerto Rico actually had a belief in Atabey that was like Earth Mother, you know. So I was generally talking about matricentric cults, you know. I didn't focus on Atabey. This is the first time I actually read about Atabey. But what is a characteristic of old beliefs, like really old beliefs and like really old world, is cult and beliefs that evolve around the motherly figure, and later on in like Abrahamic religions and some proto-Indo-European religions, we all of a sudden had like patre as a fatherly figure, you know. So you had like maybe a dawn or age of like masculinity or feminine age. I don't know how to express that without people may get confused when I say that about, you know, when you say masculine and feminine from the points of modern world. I'm not talking about that. It's just some totally different stuff, you know. So I can't remember the English word, the English term. Fertile, yeah. So those were fertility cults, yes. So Atabey, let's read about Atabey. Atabey was the original. Is music too loud for you guys? Maybe I can just let me just lower it for me also. It's loud for me. Like this. Okay. Oh. Yeah, Atabey. Atabey was the original Earth Mother and powerful creator to the Taino. Music is good. Oh, thank you. Powerful creator to the Taino people. So that old civilization of Peru, their name is Taino. She crafted two sons. So she crafted. She didn't give birth to two sons. She crafted two sons, which means there is some engineering going on. Yukayu, or I don't know how to pronounce that. Yukayu, and Guacar. Yukayu continued Atabey's work and created the sun and the moon, and took gems from the earth and placed them in the sky as stars. He filled the fertile earth his mother created with plants and trees, birds and animals. Then he decided to create something new that was the cross between an animal and a god. Hupia, I think it's her name, his name, whatever. And this was the first man, which was named Lokuo. The brother Guacar became very jealous and changed himself into evil spirit Guacan. Using his power winds, he tried to destroy all of the things that Yukao has created. Remind me to actually point to the similarities in Abrahamic religions after this. blowing down trees and killing animals, and he tried to kill Lokuo as well, but he did not succeed. Lokuo was very frightened, but he prayed to Yukayu and remained strong. One day he felt alone on the earth. So out of his belly button he made two more beings, a male Guaguyona and female Yaya. From those two humans, all others descendants came. This is how the Taino explained the creation of Earth, the ancestry of its people, and tried to make sense of the awful devastation of hurricanes and earthquakes. So here we witness about the story of two brothers, and one brother that was jealous and actually tried to kill the other one that was actually good guy in this story. Reminds you of something about Cain and Abel, for example. Cain and Abel are also brothers. This in the Abrahamic religions. This is a story of how to say that, first murder, I think. Yeah. So Abel and Cain were bringing like sacrifices, gifts to God, and yeah. What was I saying? I just forgot. I'm just too tired. Is it Abel? Yeah. 1 second. Yeah, Abel. So yeah, Abel's gifts to God were yeah, first murder, were good in God's eyes, how to say, while Cain was not fruitful in his sacrifices, you know, and that's when Cain actually turns the dagger on his brother and killed him. So there's like similarities here, although this brother didn't manage to kill. Of course, the same stories all over the globe, but under different formats. Yeah, but it's okay when you see a similar story in, for example, in Asia or destination that actually you can travel by foot, like Europe to Asia, or today's Turkey, you know, old Iran, Georgia, Armenia, but America, and on the other side, you know, Middle East, to have such similarities, that's like really, really weird, you know. Who knows how old world was, you know? You can just guess, because archaeology and history, again, I repeat, are not sciences. They are, history and archaeology is interpretative science, therefore it can't be science. You just interpret out of sources, and that's not enough for science. Science actually works by theories and laws, you know. So to be completely honest and direct, everything we ever learned in school was a lie when it comes to history. And I think, and I doubt, we will ever know the truth, you know, about the old world and what actually happened on this beautiful planet Earth. I think maybe some kind of cycle, who knows, you know, like old age. As age gets old, new age is born out of the ashes of the old age. So are the civilizations and new way of living, new technologies, and you know. Raining frogs. In El Yunque National Forests, when the humidity is high, the tiny Kokui frogs climb to great heights in the forest canopy. The predators, mostly tarantulas of this tiny frog, are aware of this behavior and catch and eat them on the way up. As a survival tactic, the frogs leap from top of the trees rather than climbing back down. and they're so tiny that they're virtually float back down rather than running the gauntlet of predators. It actually rains frogs. Nice. I'm just reading about some stuff in Puerto Rico, man. This old Native American civilizations are just magnificent, man. I do not know what I'm doing at the moment, but I kind of like this. Huh? How does it look to you? I don't know. Seems cool. Better than like boring stick, you know? Seems cool, seems cool. Hmm. Oh, it turned into Gandalf stuff, yeah. Looks pretty good to me, yeah. Anyway, guys, I think I'm gonna finish for today because how long did I stream? Yeah, 2 hours. In the past like 5 days, I sleep only like 4 hours per day, and with a baby in the house, that can be pretty exhaustive after so many short sleep nights. Uh, anyway, I really enjoy this stream. When you two guys are here, it's always more interesting for me, you know. And we'll continue this tomorrow evening. I think I have some job to do to finish, but I think I'm gonna finish it during the day. So, hey man, no problem. Thank you for being here, for following everything, and all right, Master Dushan. Take care. Sleep well. You too, guys. Love you. Be well. Bye bye.